Hello everyone, welcome back to Faewood Mead, or if this is your first time here, thanks for joining us. I appreciate you. We have a totally different thing happening here, and don't worry, I took plenty of phone footage, so as I'm talking about what I did, you will see what I did as well. So this is my first historical, actually, it's my second historical based mead. Okay, so my first one was the Shushen. This is, I will not say it right because it's German. The Wurtzburg mead, maybe? So I got this recipe off mysteryofmead.com, the same person who wrote this book. Oh my God. I am going to be doing a book review as well as trying out a couple of the recipes that are in here. Very, very excited for that. And I'm going to try to be as historically accurate in my practice as possible. So, you know, that includes adding egg white if it tells me to, and putting yeast on a piece of toast and adding it to my mead because I'm curious. I want to know how it tastes. Practices were a little bit different. Of course, it's not gonna be 100% accurate. This, for example, I don't have an oak barrel to put this in, you know, for fermentation. So I'm gonna be adding some oak chips for the period of time when oak would be gathered. So if you just type in Wurtzburg mead, Wurtzburg, I don't know. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. If you type that into the search bar, this will pop up mysteryofmead.com, and there's a whole thing about it. So this recipe is from 1350. It is from the first German cookbook, well, translated as the Book of Good Food, and it is in the Library of the University of Munich. This drink, it's supposed to be a little bit sweet, it's supposed to be carbonated as well. So sweet and carbonated is kind of like, and herby. I'm gonna just kind of walk you through step by step what I did for this mead, which of course will give you further explanation of what exactly this is. What is the Wurtzburg mead? Okay, well, it is supposed to be a carbonated mead, and it has sage leaves and hops. Sage and hops, those are the ingredients. So it's a little bit herby. I used 3 pounds, 4 ounces of clover honey, and I used 1 pound, 12 ounces of orange blossom honey. Not to get overly complicated here. Those are the only 2 honeys I have at the moment. Honestly, I ordered some honey. It's supposed to be arriving, but it's late because it's coming from California. They were having wildfires and stuff. Beyond that, I don't really have the cash right now to invest in buckets of mead. So getting to the point here where I'm like, I'm not really making enough money necessarily to support my hobby. And I am not being supported by YouTube as of yet. I still have a little ways to go in order to get there. So I split my honey. Okay, I'm trying to stretch some things out a little bit. That is the only reason I did that. So of course this wouldn't be a Faewood mead unless I mess up on something. So I wrote down this recipe originally like a while ago. I saw it, I wrote it down, I wanna make this, and I thought that it was for 2 gallons and it was for 1. So my steps are a little bit screwy here. I'll tell you why. The recipe calls for 8 large sage leaves, 0.75, so 3/4 of an ounce of Saaz hops. You're supposed to boil those for 10 minutes. This calls for 3 quarts of water and 5 quarts of honey, which is that's a lot of honey. Also, 4 quarts equals a gallon. So I'm not really sure what was happening here. I think there was a mistake in the, just what they put up on the website. I don't know. This looked like 2 gallons to me. And then I realized after my boiling was finished, which you boil for 10 minutes, I realized once that was done that I messed up. Ran outside, grabbed 12 more sage leaves, sanitized them. Well, I ended up adding a full ounce of Saaz and a full ounce of Cascade hops after the boil. I only had 1 package of Saaz, so again, mine's gonna be a little bit weird. And I just kind of let the Cascade sit in the really hot water for a while. I'm trying, you guys, okay? There's always something, and I just don't realize it until it's too late. You know, traditionally or whatever, they would have put this directly into a barrel and fermented in a barrel for 12 days. And then they would move from that barrel to a barrel that's coated in resin, which would cut down drastically on the wood flavor. So basically, I'm gonna have my wood chips for 12 days, and then I'm gonna move it over to glass. Or I'm gonna rack it out of this and back into this, essentially, just to get it off the wood after 12 days. And that is what I did. So I will put up on the screen what the ingredients are listed for this mead. If, you know, for all of the exact instructions, I encourage you to go to the website and take a look at that, because they are going to be obviously a little bit different from what I did. You know, and of course, historically they boiled their honey. I chose not to boil mine. I measured out my honey, put that in the pot, and then I put enough water on top of that to make a gallon, and I just kind of heated that up. I took another gallon of water, boiled that with the sage and the hops, and then let that cool for a little while, and then I added cold water to almost bring it up to the 3rd gallon. I left a little bit of space for this yeast that I'm using. Yeah, so at the end of her instructions, you know, you can force carbonate or like back sweeten, do all of that kind of stuff. I will be using a nutrient schedule. It's interesting because this recipe, again, it's from 1350. Typically in like the welcome meads, which is between the 17th and 18th centuries, they would usually put their yeast on a piece of toast and put the toast in. That does provide some nutrient. And then of course they would boil everything to begin with. So everything's in primary, there's nothing in secondary. So that helps as well. But you know, I mean, people back then weren't without their issues in their meads. My choice is to add nutrients because I want this to taste good. I want it to be good. I don't want to run that risk of off flavors that many people back then probably drank and was just like, okay. And I am using an omega yeast, a hothead Kveik, which it is quite warm. It's very warm in this house. Originally, I was gonna make this into 1 gallon, and then I realized I have this whole packet. It's for 5 gallons. This happened to be free. So free as in I just bottled what was in here like a couple of days ago, and now I can use it for something else. So first thing on my channel beyond the, well, I guess besides the pie mint, that's been more than 1 gallon. I hope this is good because I'm gonna end up with a lot of it. Yeah, I think that's about it. I do need to take the gravity of this. It would probably be helpful if I could see what I was doing right now. Oh, this is the first time using the ale yeast too. Haha. My first ale yeast in a mead. All right, this came out right around a bit under where I had intended for it to be. 1.046. I was kind of aiming a little bit closer for 1.060, which is the max that this can go to. So this brings me, where does this bring me? So it brings me to about 6%, which honestly is pretty nice. That's a good like beer strength. I do want to try to back sweeten this time with honey instead of the carbonation drops. I want more honey character if I can get it. All right, here we go. I'm gonna add my, what is it? I figured it out to be 0.7. Oh, you know, I should have thought of this. These are definitely gonna get stuck. Oh my God. Why do I do this to myself? Bad ideas, bad ideas. Just put that in there. So I did fill this to like exactly, or just barely under 3 gallons, so. And I let my wood chips soak for a full hour. But I think the French oak will add a nice flavor. It's gonna be interesting having something that's kind of like oaky and carbonated. I don't know. I mean, I've never had anything like this. Like the only thing with sage that I remember that I'd had was the Rag and Bone Meaderies mead that they'd given me. It was like the Bavarian one. That was another like that was a historical recipe and it had sage in it. So this feels pretty warm. Are you supposed to shake for 30 seconds? 1002, 1003, 1029. 30. It's a very long 30. All right. There it goes. Beautiful. Ooh, it's foamy. Oh yeah, that's alive. That is very much awake. All right. Well, there you go. Happy little yeasties. Ooh. Ooh, it smells good. This will be interesting because it's a Norwegian ale strain, so it has a unique honey-like aroma with overripe mango, complementary to modern fruity hops. All right. There it is. Okay. And for once, I have enough space. I have enough space. Yes, doing good. I feel like I was able to kind of save my mistakes, even though I didn't boil half the hops or the sage. They kind of just sat in very hot post-boiled water for a little while. Hope that's okay. I think it'll be fine. All right. Well, that's it. That's all she wrote. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. Well, thank you. I appreciate you, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye.